me that water, I need a fighter. Okay, I come get it later.
Welcome to the Counterculture Podcast. Our podcast was created to help young adults hear a different perspective on relevant topics in today's culture. So hang out with us as we look at the world through God's Word.
Give me that water, I need a fighter. Okay, I come get it later.
Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the Counterculture Podcast. It's your host, Eli, along with co-host Mitch. And we do have to deliver some sad news. Colby will no longer be on the podcast. Nothing happened, like bad or anything. He got a new job, as we actually talked about in one of the podcast episodes. And just the time commitment on weeknights and things like that has been a lot, and he wants to make sure he has adequate time to spend with his family and with other things that truthfully are more important than the podcast. So a lot of respect to him. We wish him nothing but blessings in this next season of life. But yeah, it is just me and Mitch now. The trio has been brought down to a dynamic duo. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Mitch, can you tell them why it's been a while?
So, I honestly think it feels longer than it actually was. I was watching our last episode on YouTube today, and it was like in August. It was like beginning of August.
Oh, okay. And it's October, so about 2 months.
Yeah, a little less than 2 months. So, it's been a while because obviously we usually upload every other week. But yeah, we had to take a break because we were in the transition of moving locations for the podcast because Eli bought a house.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we're at my crib now. We're in my studio in the basement. I'm telling you, it's so sick down here. It's kind of hard to see because I know we got clothes and stuff blocking behind us, but it is a very, very cool space. Me and my wife feel really, really blessed by, just God providing and allowing, my wife to stay home and us to be able to buy a house and things like that. So feeling really, really blessed when it comes to that. But yeah, new location, which means obviously a new setting, new backdrop, and everything like that. But we truly want the quality of the podcast to remain the exact same. We don't want anything to fall in that aspect. So we waited.
Yeah.
Until we had it all set up.
Yep. We finally feel like we have a good setting here, quality. We've just got this new couch. Where'd you get it from?
Shout out Mark. Yeah,
Mark. Mark gave us a couch.
Shout out Mark.
Let's go.
Yeah, Mark from church.
So it's kind of aesthetic, I think.
I honestly love it. Like it's like an older maroon leather couch, and he showed me it, and I was like, the average person probably would be like, I was drawn to it.
Yeah.
I was really drawn to it. I was like, I actually love this, and I feel like it's going to really fit well with our vibe. I mean, like, purple linen cloth was, like, high echelon back in the day.
Absolutely.
So, the maroon, I rock with it, bro.
I was skeptical when I first saw the picture. Then I looked into it for a little bit longer, and I was like, wait, this is cool.
I know. Rach did the same thing. She was like, I don't know if I... And then I was like, you know what? It grew on me. And it's actually really comfortable.
I'm feeling that.
And it's free. So everything's better when it's free.
Yeah, that was a big thing.
Because we obviously,
we were going to be sitting on the floor if we didn't find a couch here soon.
We almost recorded in foldable chairs. It almost happened. And I told Mitch, I said, no, we can't. Anyways, with that being said, we have missed you guys. Thank you for listening. If you're on audio, if you're on YouTube, you can see our faces. We appreciate you as well. This next episode is going to be a very, very hot, controversial topic that we want to shed some countercultural perspective on. And just, from our perspective, young males, what are we thinking about this? And, as we look at maybe what some of the Bible says about these things, it's going to be really interesting. So go ahead, Mitch, you kind of kick it off with the topic and what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Yeah. Again, thank you for everyone who's tuning in after the break. If you're just following the podcast now and you haven't seen our previous episodes, basically we release an episode every other week, and we release on YouTube and on Spotify, any streaming platform like that. So make sure you're tuning in there, subscribing, follow us on Instagram where we post and TikTok where we post all of our short form content, clips from the pod. And yeah, we are going to be talking about something that's huge right now. Number one story
Number one.
in the news. If you can guess, it would be about
Pause.
Diddy. Yes, that has been the rave in culture right
Diddy,
now
Diddy.
because of just how upper echelon celebrity culture, how much this impacts and
Yeah.
how much it affects.
Yeah.
You've probably already seen a bunch of other YouTubers or podcasts talking about it. And we couldn't pass that up either because it's such a huge thing to discuss and something that really demonstrates the brokenness of this world at the highest level.
Yep.
And what can happen, how sin can corrupt people.
Yep.
And as we're going to get into it, we don't even know the full extent of it, but we probably will
Right.
as time goes on.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, for context, right, we are two 23-year-old guys. This is a faith-based podcast, and we just want to provide a perspective that a lot of our generation does not see. You know, being a little bit more, I just think people who are in culture nowadays, they're just immersed in these flawed beliefs and ideologies that we just want to maybe offer a different perspective on. So, with that being said, I think kind of the first things first, you know, for those who don't know, I guess we should probably like, who's Diddy? Like,
Yeah. P
you probably
Diddy,
know more than me, honestly.
P Diddy, Mr. Combs, he has been in the public space for years in the 90s. I honestly don't know everything that there is to know about him. I haven't researched this incredibly well, but I know the main things that are happening. I know that he's big in Hollywood. He's made music before. He's an artist. He controls a lot of things in the music industry.
Yeah.
And has a lot of power. And he's managed people, and he's affected a lot of popular celebrities right now. And everyone really knows him. He seems to be like super well connected to like every person from any realm of popularity, sports, music,
all the industries.
business, anything like that. So a lot of people are affected by him. He's been in the mainstream eye for a long
huge.
time,
He's huge.
and people are calling this like the new Epstein thing, you know, like
Which is crazy.
the new Epstein case, because I think it was maybe 7 months ago when the initial rumors started spreading. Because I saw stuff on like Joe Rogan, all these other things. Like there were rumors going around and stories reported that like Diddy was into some weird things. The police were like really raided his house, you know. And so things were kind of wild. People were like, apparently he's having these parties, these crazy
Freak off.
Yeah, which we will later know as freak offs.
Yeah.
These parties where every celebrity basically has gone to.
Yeah.
And so everyone's questioning like who's involved in these shady things.
Yeah. So he was, just for clarification for the viewer, so he was charged. The allegations are racketeering, prostitution, or sex
Trafficking.
sex trafficking, and probably a few other things
That will probably come out.
that probably will come out. But I think those are the main things. And the other thing is too, there's also like a history here to a degree. For those of you who don't know, there was a video that released, I don't know, in the 2015-ish era of him like beating his girl.
Yeah.
Like there's like, I don't know, pushing your girl into the wall. And then there's like, yo, chill. Like something's wrong with you. Like you don't have a grip on your emotions. And it's a really disturbing video to watch. And he came out with an apology. But I think what we really want to kind of dive into is like, is this something that's exclusive to Diddy? Or is this something that actually all of Hollywood's being affected by, that's just now kind of being brought to light and maybe being, you know, exposed to the naked public eye? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Like, is this an exclusive thing, or is this maybe something that is a lot more common than we would like to think in the in culture today?
I think everyone just in the public suspects that there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. There's a lot I mean, back in the Epstein case, if you were to before Epstein got caught and
Yeah.
all these allegations came out against him. If you were to say that some billionaire is who's connected with all these other billionaires and celebrities and queens and kings and leaders of other countries, and he's bringing people over to this island to have parties over there, and he's bringing young girls, underage girls, and has a sex trafficking ring, everything like that, you'd been like, what is going on?
Yeah,
Like, you're
right.
bogus. That doesn't sound real at all. That's a conspiracy theory. But comes out, it's real.
Here we go.
It's absolutely real. And
Yeah.
then that man is clearly killed in jail once he gets caught and prosecuted, and he's just gone now. And so that kind of awoken everybody to the fact that there's some sinister things going on in the mainstream public eye that we don't see.
Yeah.
Because it's just behind the scenes. And so with this Diddy thing, it's kind of like the exact same thing. Like, again, we see someone who's extremely powerful and rich, who's connected with almost everybody, is caught in something that's pretty evil as well.
Yeah. Well, and I think what's interesting, time and time again, what we see, my dad said this a lot when we were going through a series in Genesis at church. What you see in God's word is reflected in God's world.
Yeah.
And so, like, God says in Matthew, he says, for the love of money is the root of all evil. And I think that sheds so much light, not on that money is evil, because I know a lot of people with money who do incredible things with it. But it's that when you start to become in a position where money is the motivation, when money is what you love, when it's your passion, when it's your drive, when it becomes your identity, that level of corruption transpires into every evil thing you could ever imagine. And then we see this in Epstein, we see this in these celebrities. Like, honestly, it's scary. Like, you know, I had listened to an interview and this person was like, who knows how much of Hollywood, if everything came out, it would bring down.
Yeah.
Like, who knows? Like, who knows who's involved? Like, whether it's Odell and Justin, you know what I mean? Like, whoever it is, but it's like, man, there's probably so many people connected. And I think a big part of it is the love of money. I really do. I think a lot of these people, it has become such a focus of their life, and it's consumed them for such a long time that there becomes a fog and a blur when it comes to the lines. Like, there used to be, you know, there's clear lines in the sand of like, all right, dude, like, you don't do this. Like, just from a moral perspective, like, I'm a better guy than X, Y, and Z. Like, I wouldn't do that. But then you get to these levels to where it's like, man, you start getting, you know, they talked about in some of the interviews, it's like 50 million. Like, you're offered 50 million to come do something. It's like, all of a sudden, like, that instant jerk reaction, no, turns into a slow, hesitant contemplation of like, well,
Yeah.
maybe for 50 million I'd do it. You know what I mean? But it's like, money is so powerful, and when it becomes who you are, it can corrupt you, and it can become a power that consumes you.
Yeah. So let's get a little specific, and I want to know like how much you know. 'Cause I
'Kay.
don't know how much you've been reading into it.
Okay.
But so again, Diddy was arrested early last week, and he's in custody right now.
Yep.
And basically, they raided his house again.
Oh, did they raid it again?
They raided his house again.
Oh, okay. I know they found like the 1,000 bottles of baby oil
they
and
found like
lubricant,
1,000 bottles of baby oil. They found,
which is so weird.
yeah. I saw a video of, I think it was Diddy's attorney
Yeah.
on an interview on some mainstream news outlet, and he was trying to defend that what
Yeah.
could have been the cause for that.
Yeah.
He's like, you know that Costco sells in bulk, right? Like you can.
No
have
way.
you been to Costco and seen the things that people are buying? Like you can get a lot of things like that, and he has a pool and and it's just trying everything
1,000 bottles.
possible. Yeah.
1,000, like what?
Yeah.
That's a room full.
He doesn't have a baby. Even if he had 10 babies.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I
so-
don't think. Yeah, that's crazy.
So
that's crazy.
So
One
yeah,
at a time, Diddy.
That was so weird.
all that's needed.
I'm like, dude, just quit defending this. I mean, he
Yeah.
has to, but
Yeah.
it was just stupid. So they found that, which was probably, if not definitely, used in these huge freak offs, is what they're called.
Which, like, if you are a younger audience, we might be talking about some sensitive topics.
Yes.
What's a freak off?
Hide your kids, hide your wife.
Hide your husband. They snatching everybody out here.
Yep. So basically, freak offs is like this huge sex party.
Yeah.
Right. So Diddy would have these parties. I don't know if it would be. No one knows if it would be going down like during the party or maybe people would stay after. But they found rooms in his mansion like dedicated to sex. They would have these rooms with, chains and everything you could possibly think of in these rooms, and all and if not all of his rooms had cameras in them. They were every
No,
room
they
in his
did
mansion is
not.
filmed. Yeah.
Really?
So people are like, Diddy, he technically traffics these girls. It's technically trafficking if you bring women over across state lines.
Yeah, yeah.
Even-
Wow,
yeah.
really? Even over state lines?
Yeah, that's what I was like. Oh, okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
I don't think anything's come out of if there was any underage women. So they are all of age as of now.
So I'm gonna throw out a curveball to you.
Okay.
Question: if somebody goes there consensually to take part in these freak offs, and maybe they're drugged up, offered money, where does the fault lie there? Like, is that Diddy? Is that the person? Is it both? Because I don't know. It's just like, I guess where my mind goes is like, are these people? I don't know. Like, if you're offered $50 million to do something, you go do it, and it's like, oh, I was coerced. Like, dude, you went.
Yeah.
I guess. You
Yeah.
know. Okay, that's just what I'm getting at.
So basically, yeah, for more context, and I'll answer that. It's like Diddy would bring these women over, and a lot of them actually would be celebrities that would be at the parties.
Okay.
Suspectedly, right? We don't know who all is connected with this, but he would have these parties with a bunch of celebrities over, and these freak offs were happening for days at a time, reportedly. For days at a time. Insane.
Is that even possible?
I don't know.
Like, what?
But, like I said, every room's filmed. So, I mean, he may promise these women that are coming over, like, hey, I can get you a record deal. I'll give you money, like you're saying, if you just do this. So he'll maybe drug them up, make them, and I think that was found in his house.
Yeah, drugs were found.
Drugs were found.
I
So
do
that
know
would make them more compliable. Is that a word? Compliant. And basically, if any of them said, like, hey, like, I'm gonna out you, like I'm gonna rat on you, like he has everything on film, so he's like, all right, I'm gonna release these films, and you're gonna be everywhere.
Blackmail.
So like these cameras were a huge tool to keep power over everyone that was doing these. Like imagine if you're an A-list celebrity and you're one of these freak offs,
Right.
You're not gonna speak out about the evil
Heck
he's doing
no.
because he has videos of you like that. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, right. Like I mean, I hope I would never be in that position.
Right.
But I'd be like, well,
You're like, all right,
me,
I'll
like,
take my record deal
I'll
and just
take
be
my
quiet.
record deal.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would.
No, yeah, for sure. But so who's to blame? Definitely both parties. Who's
more at fault?
Who's more at fault? It's on the person, I'd say.
See,
The person that
I think our take on that is definitely going to be countercultural. I agree.
yeah.
Like I gotta be careful what I say. I think there's a lot of
If it's in the way that we're thinking of it.
correct. Like if it's like consensual, like bribery. It's like, hey, this was X, Y, and Z offered for you to come do this, and you did it. It's like, that's on you. If it was more of like hey, you showed up to this party, you weren't aware,
You were
you got drugged, like that. Okay, calm down, right? Like we're
Yeah.
not saying that's your fault.
Right.
But yeah, like if you're just willingly, consensually going to this party, knowing what's gonna happen, and like you're okay with it because of the leverage it's gonna give you, the status quo, the competitive advantage, if you will, in your industry, get out of here. Like I don't want to hear, like, don't come out against him. Like you're the problem. You are the problem.
Yeah.
Like there would be no problem if nobody, You know what I mean? Gave in.
Yeah.
So for me, that's just kind of what's hard. And there's this segment of like I don't even know what to call it. And you know, there might be differing opinions on this, but there's a segment of, you know, like people who claim rape and things like that, where it's like you went on a date with this guy, you're maybe even dating,
Mm-hmm.
you were in the room with him, you both got undressed, you did other stuff, and then like you didn't tell him he could, but he did. You know what I mean? It's like, and then they claim rape, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, whoa, like there's you were there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, so anyways, I just think some of that gets blurred. But I 100% agree.
Yeah, there's definitely victims in this situation, but the line does get a little more blurry once it's like,
Yeah.
all right, you consented to be here.
Yeah.
You were promised something and you willingly wanted to engage in this transaction,
Yeah.
you know. So, man, this is crazy. It's just been reported this week that Diddy's on suicide watch now.
Really?
Yeah, people think he's gonna
Hmm.
kill himself, you know, just like Epstein.
Mhm.
But I'm theorizing, and what a lot of other people are, is that he's gonna get killed in prison.
Hmm.
He's like, people are saying he's a narcissist, and that narcissists don't typically kill themselves. They don't typically off themselves. They don't go
Yeah,
down
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. But regardless, I think we're looking at another Epstein situation where it might be staged as like, yeah, he killed himself, but he knows a lot about a lot of people,
Yeah.
and no one wants him chirping.
No.
So
No.
they will kill him.
They will find a way to get it done.
I'm saying we're gonna be in the next month or couple months. We're gonna see a news story on our social media about Diddy's dead.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, and it's really sad because, you know, to kind of tie this to I don't know, just like a bigger picture, I guess,
Mhm.
if you will. What's unfortunate is, you know, we're coming out with a hoodie here this fall. We're coming out with two colors, pink and gray. They're minimalist. They're super clean. They're really comfy. And I think it's Mark 834. I think I have that reference wrong. You'd think I'd know the reference on
Right.
my hoodie. But essentially it says, "For what does it benefit a man to gain the world but lose his soul?" And I think like what's so sad about this is from the public naked eye, it's like, man, Diddy had everything.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, what else could you want? Like mansions, cars, women, money, fame, courtside seats. Like, from a worldly perspective, it's like, man, he had everything. And then boom, one turn of event, and you quickly realize like what he had, the materialistic things, like all of that means literally nothing in the grand scheme of things. Like, okay, now you're behind bars. Now what?
Yeah.
Who cares? Diddy who? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so for us, it's like, man, how do we avoid falling into the trap of chasing everything that the world offers and viewing that as like, man, that's gonna be our satisfaction. Like, imagine if I got that record deal. Like for you, bro. Like, imagine if I got the record deal. I'm sure there's a part of you that thinks you'd be more fulfilled and you'd you know, have a better life, I guess, I don't know, in quotes, if you finally got that record deal.
Yeah.
100%. Like for me, it's my clothing company. If you didn't know, podcast is sponsored by Uncertified, uncertified.co. Check us out online.
Yeah.
If our brand hit 7 figures, like for sure I'd be like, oh yeah, well of course my life would be better. Like of course, like I would be more fulfilled. But it's like, would we? Because at the very root of everything, Jesus and Christ is our ultimate fulfillment. Like he is the living water that we never have to, you know, thirst again if we drink from. Like he is everything we could need, and all that the world offers is temporary. It's here one second and gone the next.
I have a song coming out about that.
Whoa. What's it called?
Water.
Can
Stay
we get
tuned.
a clip of that? Is that gonna be our intro?
Yeah, you'll hear that clip in the intro.
Yeah, so you probably already heard it.
Yeah.
That song you heard at the beginning of this video. What's the lyrics? What does it say?
It's talking about, like you said, how what we really need is that living water that only the Father offers, and that this world can't offer anything like that.
Yeah.
And so satisfaction is only found in
Wow.
Jesus. And just it talks also about what we're talking about now, the complete corruption of most of the entire
Yeah.
world, and like
Yeah.
what sin has done to people.
Yeah.
So.
But I think, and it doesn't have to be. So you might be listening to this like, all right, well, I'm not having freak offs at my house.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? Like I'm good. It's like, man, it can be anything. Like it could be you idolizing your career. It could be you idolizing a relationship. Anything that you put before God is an idol. And you just need to tear it down, because at the end of the day, there is nothing that brings satisfaction like Jesus. Everything leads to a dead end. But there is one way, you know, and Jesus says, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. There, you know, no one gets to the Father except through me. So like what I think we can do is we can look at this situation and we can be like, man, this is an extreme for sure. Like most people, I hope, aren't having freak offs in their basement. However, the ramification of the pursuit of pleasure. I also have a T-shirt coming out here this fall that says "Purpose over Pleasure." And one thing that God has been teaching me lately, that's been on my mind, is that when we persistently pursue pleasure, it's often that we miss out on purpose. And I think that is something our world really struggles with. Is Diddy pursued the pleasures. He pursued what made him feel good. He pursued what everybody, you know, masked as, you know, this is what the world offers. This is what it is to live. And in turn, he missed out on purpose. And it's like, I don't want to make that same mistake, because it's one that can cost you your eternity. Like if you don't know Jesus, like, dang, you know, like that's scary to have everything the world offers and yet truly have nothing.
Right. It's so deceiving what sin does, because it makes
Lean into that.
Yeah,
Lean into that.
It makes you think that, all right, like you just need to push the boundaries just a little bit more to have the true satisfaction that you're looking for. And so when you think of, you can look at this and dissect it on a level that Diddy's on, the top tier of status and mainstream,
Right.
all the way down to some nobody in their everyday life, right? Like if you look at Diddy, like it was about power at that point.
Yeah.
It's not about money.
No,
And-
he has the money.
Right. And those two can play into each other, but they can also be separated.
Right.
Power, the power that he has over other people, I'm sure is extremely gratifying and something that he's craving,
Yeah.
and that he wants to get more of. And if he'll just be able to control this little aspect of this and then this little aspect, it'll feel like it'll gratify his flesh in some way that he thinks is good, and that sin is twisting into something pleasurable. And so it's like, all right, how do I push that line? All right, well, I need to get a bunch of people in on these free costs.
Yeah.
And then I'll have a bunch of people even more people under my control. And how can I push the line sexually? You know, like anything like that. Can I abuse some kid that I found?
Yeah.
You know, and so just how sin twists something good like sex into the most perverted version of it that we see in Diddy and Epstein's and every story like that. And so then you look at it on a micro level, and it's like someone day to day, like it can play out in a bunch of scenarios I'm sure you can think of, just like how someone has a sin problem and then how that leads them to push the boundary and affect an even bigger area in their life. Let's say like a pornography addiction, which ruins a marriage, which causes them to cheat, you know? Like,
The snowball effect.
it snowballs, and it's like sin promises a gratification and a lasting satisfaction, and it never fulfills it.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I think what you were that's so good. And the truth is, you know, I've always talked about everything starts in the smallest version. Right? And so like you look at this and like what might seem crazy, but what I'm going to say is these freak offs, Diddy's corruption, the racketeering, the sex trafficking, you want to know what it all started with? It all started with a thought. Everything starts with a thought, and your thoughts become your desires. Your desires become your actions become your habits form lifestyles, and your lifestyle leaves a legacy. And I think what we miss out on is we think that we think, and it goes for both extremes. On the one side, it's like we think that the people who are in jail for murder are just evil people. No, the truth is they let intrusive thoughts consume their mind until it became a desire that they could no longer resist. And that desire, right, was fleshed out in action. Okay. And then you also look at somebody who's got an incredible life. They got an amazing marriage. They got great family. And it's like, man, they must have just been born that way. It's like, no, they took conscious decisions to take their thoughts captive, to think on the right things, to do the right things consistently day in and day out, to become the man of God, the woman of God that they are today. Like they weren't just, boom, I turned 40, now I'm really wise. And it's like, man, I know a lot of 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds who are kids. They're on baby's milk. And it's because they never had the discipline. They never took the time to take the correct steps, lean into the process to become the person that they truly desired to become. And so I think, for us, it's like, man, this starts at such a small level. And so that's why it's important to like control your thoughts, control what you're consuming. I mean, it's funny. One thing I even noticed recently, we were, just going on a walk after our workout yesterday and talking about some of the things we were struggling with. And I think one of the things I have been doing is I was listening to music that wasn't even necessarily honest. It was a lot of like, however you say his name, Life and some other stuff, but it just wasn't music that was glorifying to God. And I actually noticed I was listening to it so much it was starting to like affect my mood. Like it was just starting to like, my mind wasn't set on the right things, and I was like, man, how easy is it to just like get in these habits, but then realize the destruction and the damage, but just stay in them because it's so easy.
Yeah.
Like it's just easy to stay in those ditches, in those ruts. And then next thing you know, it's 10 years later, you're an alcoholic. It's 10 years later, you're addicted to porn and you cheat on your wife. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't seem like that big of a deal now until it's a big deal later.
You're right. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. Anything else you would bring to light or you want to talk about when it comes to Diddy in this case?
Things I would add on to that would be, don't think of this situation with Diddy as something that's like, obviously it's probably guaranteed that all of us listening and speaking right now aren't going to be billionaires. It could happen, Yeah. But
Probably not.
we are not going to have the power that Diddy has, the cultural effect, the connections, the money that he has. And so it's easy for us to look at it as something that's unrealistic for us to ever, like, to be corrupted to that level.
Yeah.
In a sense, we won't be because we won't have that much power, like I said. But we can be just as polluted with sin and corrupted as Diddy. And it's something that we can all fall victim to, and that we all fall victim to maybe in smaller ways on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And we just need to be wary. If anything, we need to let this situation be a mirror to us. And
that's good.
And reflect on that and say, all right, how in areas in my life can I just cut things off before they grow too far, and how can I refocus my attention onto the things of God that are true and holy and pleasing to Him, and that actually lead to satisfaction in life.
Yeah. And I think, it's Romans 3:23, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, right? And so it's like the person, we've talked about this before. It's like Jeffrey Dahmer. If Jeffrey Dahmer truly gave his life to Christ in prison, he's going to heaven, and the person who lived a very good moral life, held the door, gave to charities, but never surrendered or bowed the knee to Jesus isn't.
A lot of people don't like to hear that.
They don't like to hear that. But the truth is, we don't get to heaven by doing, good things or by works. Jesus came down, and it's by believing in what He did on the cross. That's what saves you. And so I think if you're also listening to this thinking, like, once again, kind of to the effect of what you were saying, like, man, that's not me though. Like, I'm not addicted to this, or I'm not this. It's like, you're a sinner and you need a savior. And so if you don't have that relationship with Jesus, man, there's a lot of things I regret in life. Not one of them is Jesus.
Right.
Not one of them is Jesus. Like every decision I've ever made for God has been something that I'm like, man, I'm so glad I did that. Everything I did that was not for God, I always regret.
That's a good point.
And so, yeah, that's just an encouragement to you. If you don't know Jesus, if you're struggling with your walk with Jesus, he's always worth it. And everybody needs him, no matter where you're at in life. And you don't have to come get right before you come to him, because Christ makes you right. So I think just having that perspective that we all need him, no matter where we're at in our walk, is important to remember.
Mm-hmm. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. This has been awesome.
Appreciate you. First episode back. Let's freaking go, dude.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I'm hyped.
Again, follow us on all social media. Click the links in the video description if you're on YouTube. Follow us everywhere. Thank you if you stuck around to the end.
Heck yeah. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you in the next one.
See ya.
Peace.